ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Thursday Night Football Overtime. Ravens, Chiefs, AFC Championship rematch. What a dandy we got to kick off the season. I knew they weren't going to miss with this one. I said on the podcast yesterday, I couldn't think of a better contest to kick off the season than this one. You knew the Ravens weren't going to go into Arrowhead and lay down. You knew the Chiefs weren't going to allow themselves to lose 2 years in a row. Although this one came down to the wire, and they almost lost this ball game. But what a contest! The Chiefs get it done 27-20 over the Ravens, and man, so much to break down and discuss from this ball game. Let's dive right in. First of all, man, I love football, and it's so good that it's back, and it's back with a bang. Kicked off with this outstanding contest. So let's start with the Chiefs. I always like to start with the victors. To the victors go the spoils, as we always say here on this show. Man, Xavier Worthy. My wife, right as the Chiefs were taking the field offensively after the Ravens went down and scored on the opening possession, my wife said to me, don't they got a guy that's fast like Tyreek Hill that's taking his place now? I'm like, yeah, but the guy that they really need is Hollywood Brown, and he's not playing. She's like, but didn't that guy break the record at the combine? I'm like, yeah, he's fast, but he's not going to be as impactful as Hollywood Brown, trust me. And then 2 seconds later, they give it to him on the little reverse, and man, he's fast. I mean, the last time I felt like that watching somebody run was Tyreek Hill, right? Coincidentally enough, he hit the gas. My God, man, was he fast. Woo! Yeah, he's going to be a problem. And we knew that. And I remember saying this on draft night. Of all the teams, and everybody projected that the Chiefs would somehow find their way in a position to draft Xavier Worthy. And the one team you said to yourself, at least I said it, and I think most people felt this way, the one place you didn't want him to end up was Kansas City, right? Because you know Andy Reid's going to find creative ways to use him. And sure enough, first possession, they did not disappoint. He gets into the end zone, and he scored again later on in the game. We'll get to that in a bit. But it was a great start to the game. Both teams kind of trading blows early. Ravens going down, scoring. Chiefs going down and answering that score. And I knew they would settle in. Both teams would settle in. You got to give credit to the Ravens' red zone defense in this game. They got some big stops because this thing could have gotten ugly. Travis Kelce had a big drop on a possession where if he catches that thing, I think it was a 2nd and 5. And then they ultimately ended up having to settle for a field goal because they didn't complete the pass on 3rd down. He catches that 2nd and 5 pass, and I think he might have heard footsteps because there was a Ravens defender waiting on his ass. Had he caught it, he would have got tattooed. But I haven't really known Travis Kelce to be scared of taking contact. So I just think he just dropped it. And every now and again, then Travis Kelce will have a concentration drop, and he did. But you got to give credit to the Ravens defense, especially in the red zone. They were outstanding because this game could have gotten away from them after the Chris Jones forced fumble. Boy, can we talk about Chris Jones for a second, man? This guy is an animal. He was almost unblockable in the first half. And I get it, the Ravens, and we'll talk about that offensive line because I've got questions. I've got questions after this game. But he was just a man amongst boys in the first half. And you saw the money that he got. Remember, he held out of this very same game last year in week 1, and they lost that game to Detroit in the opener last season. And he wanted a new contract. He got it this offseason, and he's worth every single penny because that guy is a force. You line him up inside, he wins against the guard. You line him up outside, he wins against the tackle. He's got that devastating Aaron Donald jump, swim move, jump, rip, rather. It's hard to stop. And he finds ways to shorten the edge, get to the quarterback. He was he was a problem, especially in that first half. And that forced fumble really could have changed this game if not for the Ravens defense standing tall and forcing a field goal. Again, got to give credit to that Ravens defense because there were opportunities for this thing to really get uncomfortable for Baltimore. And that defense kept them within shouting distance in this game and ultimately gave them a chance with the stop late. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But Chris Jones was just outstanding. So was Leo Chenal, especially in the second half when they finally decided to start spying Lamar Jackson. Leo Chenal really did a good job of doing that. I wasn't really sure what we were going to get from the Chiefs defensively. We know Jalen Watson was going to have to take the place and fill some really big shoes because there was no more L'Jarius Sneed. He was traded to Tennessee this offseason. So you kind of said, and I wasn't a big fan of them moving Trent McDuffie from inside, which he was the best nickel in the NFL, to the outside. I was like, I don't know about that. But after one weekend, and I figured they would kind of go with that Chris Harris Jr. way of going about the nickel, where on third downs, obvious passing situations, sometimes you'll see Trent McDuffie kick inside the nickel where I think he's at his best. And so I think, they're going to be just fine defensively. I was a little surprised that Spags didn't bring a little bit more pressure, but when you're dealing with a specimen like Lamar Jackson, I understand. When you're dealing with an athlete like Lamar who can get busy on you fast, you come with pressure, you bring 6, and he breaks that first wave, look out. And I think that's kind of why you didn't see Spags heat him up as much and be as aggressive, because we know Spags likes to blitz, especially late in the game. You saw that time Lamar had almost completed that pass to Isaiah Likely. Normally, that's a blitz down for Spags. He's not going to let you stand back there and have all day to throw. But I think he really respected Lamar Jackson's ability to run, and so he wasn't as aggressive tonight. But you get back to the offensive side of football. Isaiah Pacheco is so good, man. I was a little disappointed he didn't catch that rail route up the sideline. That was a good ball from Mahomes, and it was right in his hands, and he just didn't come down with it. He had to stretch a little bit for it, but it was a pass that I've seen him catch before, and I know he's fully capable of catching. But he's such a good back, man. His feet are so good. He's so elusive, yet he runs with such power, physicality. We know he's got speed. There was a move there late in the ball game where there's a defender that flashes in front of him. He jump cuts it back. There's another defender waiting on him, cuts inside on him quickly and gets up the field. It was a 6-yard gain, but it's just, him being on display as to what he can do. A lot of times in this league, if you want to be a dynamic back, you got to BYOB, be your own blocker. He was exactly that on that particular play, and he does that quite often. And so it's just always fun to watch him play and run out there because he's so physical and plays the game in a manner that you just can't help but absolutely fall in love with. How about Rashid Rice? I mean, I get it. This guy's a knucklehead off the field, and he did a lot of bullshit this offseason, and I don't think he's going to pay for it this year. I think he'll ultimately be suspended next year because I think his situation, the American court system, that thing's going to drag on, and his lawyers are going to push that thing out until the end, if not into the offseason, probably offseason. And then the league will step in, and they'll probably slap him on the wrist with a 4-game suspension, 3 games, something like that. But what an impact he had. Like, what they would have done tonight without him, I can't tell you. Like, that, look, they ran the same route over the middle of the field, and I get it. If you're Baltimore, you're in that coverage where that linebacker is essentially picking up whatever receiver kind of comes over the middle there, but they just kept picking on the linebackers on the inside, safeties. It didn't really matter who was there. They were running that little slant, a little choice route. Call it whatever you want. Sometimes it was a shallow cross. Sometimes it was a slant. Sometimes it was a choice route. But he was winning inside, and Mahomes was putting it on him every time, and he was catching it and getting yards after the catch. And they just had no answers for him, especially in the first half. He even had a couple of plays in the second half. I wonder if he went over 100 in this game. My guess is that he probably did, because he, at one point, was all the Chiefs had receiver-wise in this game. I'd like to think he went over 100 yards. 103 yards on 7 grabs for Rashid Rice. He was outstanding in this game. So, again, he's continuing. I mean, he was really good in the postseason last year. He was really good during the regular season. And I think he's continuing to grow into that number 1 wide receiver role that they need so desperately in Kansas City. We'll see what Hollywood Brown provides them with when he comes back from injury. But I think Rashid Rice is carving out a niche as their best receiver right now. There were opportunities for Kansas City. I thought that Juju Smith-Schuster needed to catch that football. I don't know what he was doing with his hands on that play. That's a ball that you should be catching here. He had his hands under here. Well, even still with his hands being in that direction, he still needed to bring that thing in. He knew he was going to the ground. It's damn near impossible if your hands are underneath the ball with contact from the ground to maintain possession as you go to the ground with the ball out here like this. It's one thing if his hands were around the ball like this, then he could have hit the ground and still maintained possession. He should have been trying everything in his power to bring that thing in. He went to the ground like this and the ball came out, and that was one of those possessions where they had to settle for a field goal. But ultimately, they had a chance to pull away in this game, did Kansas City. When they went up 20-10 after the response, 27-17, after the response by the Ravens, or after it was 20-17, they had the response, and they scored the touchdown with Isaiah Worthy, and what a debut for him, man. There were videos of him getting pushed around in Chiefs practice, and you see how frail he is, but that guy's a difference maker. Blown coverage by the Ravens on the back end. Looked like Humphreys was playing cover two, pushed him, or Humphrey was playing cover two, pushed him off to a safety that wasn't there, and he, kind of trots into the end zone for an easy touchdown. But 2 touchdowns in his debut. How about Kingsley Suamataia? Man, I really liked him coming out of BYU. I wasn't sure if he was ready to step in and play at the level that he played at tonight. Man, he looked good. I was really impressed, with the Chiefs. And I told you, I really like their draft. And I love, and a guy that we really didn't see a lot tonight in Jarrett Wiley, I think he's going to be a stud for them as well. So when you look at this Chiefs team, they just continue to retool, reload, right? And the future is extremely bright for them as they continue on their quest to win a 3rd Super Bowl in a row. Worthy was outstanding tonight, and you got to be excited if you're a Chiefs fan as to what he can bring to the table for a team that was void of speed last year that could actually catch, because you did have speed. You had MVS last year. You had other guys that could run, but they couldn't catch. Now you have guys that can actually run and catch. And so this is going to make this Chiefs offense that much more dynamic once again. But you had a chance to pull away after Worthy's touchdown. You had all the momentum. I kind of felt like the Chiefs were more so playing the clock. And because the Ravens had burnt 2 timeouts, we're going to talk about that because, that's a pet peeve of mine. Because they had burnt 2 timeouts, it felt like they were more so playing the clock. With about 7 minutes to go, they got that football. And they got it down to about 4 minutes or so. And I felt like they could have crushed the Ravens. And I thought Andy Reid was a bit, dare I say, conservative in this game. And maybe it was respect for his opponent. I'd like to think that if this were the New England Patriots, he would have been disrespectful, because he could have trotted out Harrison Butker for a 58-yard field goal. One of those times where he punted there. And I'm like, Andy, you're gonna punt this one? But it was 20-10 at the time. Defense had been playing well. I grant you all of that. But I would have liked to have seen him, kick the field goal there. You got one of the best kickers, if not the best kicker in the NFL. And we know he can make a 58-yard field goal. I don't know. I think I might have trotted him out there. If I asked Harrison, hey, you good for this? And he tells me, yeah, I was hitting him from 59 in pregame, I'm sending him out there. I don't know where the wind was blowing, what direction was it blowing in tonight or anything like that. But if Harrison Butker, if I ask him, hey, you good for this? And he tells me, yes, I'm sending him out there. And I get it. And you got to be in the context of the game and how things were going. The defense was playing well at the time. You're up 20-10. I respect the decision. I'm not really second guessing him here. I'm just saying, I don't know. I think he could have tried the field goal, but at the end of the day, there was an opportunity right there, right? 20-10. You got him. You're moving the football. You're at the Ravens 40. I thought they had a chance. And they weren't able to get it done. And then you're up 27-17. I thought they had a chance, or 27-20. I thought they had a chance there, right? And obviously they weren't able to convert on that 3rd down. I don't think enough was made of Mahomes catching that pass that was batted in the air on that 3rd down. Chris Collinsworth, all he said, oh man, if he doesn't catch that, it's going to be picked off. Forget about that. If he doesn't catch that, that acts as another timeout for the Ravens. Look at what happened at the end of the game. You give Lamar Jackson another, because there was still 30 seconds left. If he doesn't catch that pass, it's 2:30 left on the clock. They're going to get the ball on the other side of the 2-minute warning with ample time to go down and score a touchdown. Instead, he catches that pass. And albeit it was a 2-yard gain, it was what it did to the clock. It ran it down to the 2-minute warning, and you see what happened. They ran out of time at the end of the ball game. So while everybody's making a big deal out of, oh, he caught it, it would have been intercepted. He could have easily just batted that down. Presence of mind, and I know Mahomes, the gamer that he is, he didn't catch that because he thought he was going to break 2 tackles and get the first down. He caught that because he knew, I need to keep the clock going. That was so smart on his part, because he could have easily just batted it down to the ground. And in a normal situation, that's what he would have done. But because the clock needed to continue to roll, he went up and got that thing. That's a big play in this game. It really, truly is. And I don't think it got enough attention in the moment because of what it did to the clock. And then you see what happened at the end of the game. You put 30 seconds more on that clock, the Ravens probably win this game, right? So that's a massive play by Mahomes. I thought defensively on that last possession, the Chiefs were way too soft. I really thought they were way too soft. And I would have thought about using a timeout on that last play when Isaiah Likely got injured. And then they ran the play to Zay Flowers. Well, they ran the play, and Zay Flowers was wide open in the back of the end zone, and Lamar missed him. I would have called a timeout right there because I need my pass rush to be as dynamic as it can be. Those guys were gassed at the end of the game. There was no pass rush. Lamar had all day to throw the football. I might have thought about, because the Ravens knew what they were running at that point. You weren't helping them. The clock was already stopped. Call a timeout, right? Get your guys and say, hey, look, this is it. This is the ball game, right? I think at that point it was, 6 seconds left, 5 seconds, whatever. This is the ball game right here. Call that timeout. Catch your breath. Give me everything you got. Empty the tank right here. Let's go get this win. But, man, what a finish. What a toe. We're talking about, we hear this all the time. One of the old adages in the NFL, it's a game of inches. It was never more true than on that particular play with Isaiah Likely's toe. And, I got the Chiefs in this one, right? And I told you on the podcast, what did I say? I said, this game is going to come down to the final possession. The Chiefs are going to be up. I think I said 27-23 is what I said the score would be, right? I said, this game is going to come down to the wire. The Chiefs are going to be on defense. The Ravens are going to have the football with a chance to win, and they're going to get a stop at the end. Now, did I think it was going to be literally a toe, right? Literally inches from the Ravens, and they were going to go for 2. John Harbaugh wasn't going to settle for an extra point in overtime. I said when they kicked that field goal, first of all, I don't know why he didn't kick the field goal the first time. I was like, what the hell are you doing, bro? We already know you're going for 2. When you scored a touchdown, if you get that opportunity, just take the damn points. I don't know why he went for it on the first 4th down. They were already well into Justin Tucker's field goal range. I don't know why he went for it. They got it, all right? And they got lucky because Derrick Henry had to make Noddy, who got scot-free into the backfield, he had to make Noddy miss to get the first down. If he doesn't get that, the game's over. I don't know what he was thinking, because the next set of downs, they ended up kicking the field goal anyway. All you did was burn an extra minute or so off the clock and then settle for the field goal. Kick the damn field goal, go play some defense, and who knows, you might have gotten the ball back with more time late in the ball game. But that's nor here nor there. The bottom line is it's a game of inches. And literally, the Ravens came within an inch, literally, of this game having a chance to be stolen from the Chiefs, 28-27. But as it stands, the Chiefs somehow escape here with a 27-20 victory and a hell of a kickoff to the 2024 season. Let's go to the Ravens side of things. Man, I'll tell you what. Let's start with Lamar Jackson. Then we're going to get to this offensive line. This was vintage Lamar Jackson, and in more ways than one, right? So first things first, his legs were electric tonight. And this looked like rookie, second-year Lamar. It kind of felt like Lamar was like, hey, I get it. The offensive line isn't great right now, and I got to take this game into my hands. And I'm not sliding. I'm not looking to shy away from contact. He would be by the sidelines. He's lowering his shoulder on guys. He's spinning back into contact. He didn't give a shit tonight. He looked like he was back at Louisville tonight. That wasn't the Lamar Jackson that we've seen last couple of years, trying to make sure that he stays upright, trying to find guys from the pocket. Look, Lamar's always been a guy that can run with the football. But tonight he looked like a guy, and they were calling plays like designed runs for Lamar Jackson, more so than I've seen in a while. Lamar had, 12, 13 carries? How many carries did Lamar have tonight? Lamar had 16 carries. I'd venture to say that that's the most carries he's probably had in the last 3 years. I remember very vaguely. I can't remember if this was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. It was the game, I want to say, where he had the spin move, that epic Lamar spin against Cincinnati, and then ran for the touchdown. I want to say that game he had like 15 or 16 carries in it. I would love to say that was the last time he's had this many carries. I'm probably somebody like, well, actually, Louie T, Lamar had a game last year where he had 16 carries against the Titans. I don't know when it just doesn't feel like he's run that much in recent memory, right? Like, that's a lot of carries for a quarterback in a game. This is not college football, folks. 16 carries, 122 yards. And I think a lot of that stemmed from this offensive line. Let's go there next. It's a young offensive line. They knew they were going to have growing pains. When you put as many young guys, they had a rookie right tackle out there who he didn't start the game initially, but he ended up coming in, I want to say, and Roger Rosengarten. I think he came in on the second possession of the game. Tyler Lindenbaum is out there. I think he's a rookie as well, if I'm not mistaken. If he's not a rookie, he's a second-year guy. Daniel Falele is massive, but, it's Daniel Falele. I mean, he's been in the league a little while, but and then Ronnie Stanley, how many times were they going to call him for illegal formations, lining up in the backfield? I mean, I saw that in the preseason, and I thought it would be one of those preseason things. You know how the league likes to do when they want to implement something, they go above and beyond the call of duty in the preseason to make a point, right? Put extra emphasis on it, throw the flag 5 or 6 times to kind of let teams know, hey, don't do this in the regular season, right? No. They hit his ass with about 5 of those penalties in this game. It was crazy to start this thing off. How many times they hit Ronnie Stanley with illegal formation lining up in the backfield. I like the rule because tackles were getting out of pocket with this thing. I mean, they were really getting ridiculous, okay, with the advantage that they were creating by lining up literally a yard, sometimes 2 yards into the backfield, right? Where you don't even have to get out of your stance. It's already hard enough to beat a tackle. Try beating a tackle that's already 2 yards deep before the snap, right? Like, I'm glad they're tightening up on that because it's making it damn near impossible to get around the edge. And these guys are world-class athletes, these tackles are. Don't give them an advantage. So it was just crazy to see it called as many times as it did. But all in all, I thought they would run it more with Derrick Henry. How many carries did he have? Just 13 carries for Derrick Henry. I thought they would line up and run him a little bit more tonight. I was actually a little bit disappointed that he didn't get more opportunities. Lamar Jackson was the leading ball carrier in this game with 16. Obviously, a lot of those came off of designed or scrambles on pass plays that were called. But at the end of the day, that offensive line has some growing to do. Because and look, and Chris Jones he's Chris Jones, right? He's a one of one in this league. So I get it. You're not going to see that caliber of player every single week, but you play in a division with some pretty damn good pass rushers and Myles Garrett and TJ Watt and so forth and so forth. So and Trey Hendrickson. And so this line is going to be tested this year. They're going to have to play better than they played tonight because Lamar was constantly under pressure, and if not for his legs and his ability to escape and elude and keep things alive, he would have been a lesser quarterback. Would have been sacked more than just the 1 or 2 times he got sacked tonight. Probably once on that, just the forced fumble. I don't think he got sacked again, but he was under siege. There was a ton of pressure on him, especially in the first half. But Lamar, ripped him. He got into him pretty good. I don't know if he was fussing at him or encouraging them or what, but he was pretty vocal over there after the fumble. Like, y'all get y'all shit together because Chris Jones was constantly in the backfield at that point of the game, and he had just forced the fumble. So they're going to have to be better. And you expect them to grow as the season progresses and to get better. That's not something that I think I'm too concerned about. But look, all I'm saying is you got a really good division of pass rushers. and you're gonna have to tighten up because you can't have Isaiah Likely staying in the chip all the time. He's too valuable of a pass catcher. You need him out there on the route. So guys are gonna have to be able to win one-on-one matchups and stand up and block and give Lamar 5 eligibles instead of 4.5 or 4 and a possible, right? I was worried about the receivers going into the game, and I'm still worried about the receivers coming out of this game. I know what Zay Flowers is, and he's going to be a problem. Bateman made a big catch. That's a hell of a catch. Up until then, non-existent. Nelson Aguilar, non-existent. Like, I was worried about these receivers prior to the game. I'm still a little nervous about the receivers, but again, they've got enough tight ends and other guys who can catch the football. They'll be fine, but they didn't do anything to make me feel better about their receiving position in this game. But big catch by Bateman late when they had to have it, and Flowers was open in the back of the end zone. I mean, you can't be much more open than that. And I said it was a vintage Lamar game because there were also misses by Lamar, and none bigger than the Zay Flowers miss in the back. You can't miss that one. And I get it. He was on the move, yada, yada, yada. You got to hit that, bro. The game is on the line, right? Like, had this been a playoff game and he misses that throw, we're going to have the Lamar Jackson discussion and conversation. It's a regular season game. You know, it's a miss. 3 weeks from now, we won't be thinking about that miss in the back of the end zone. We'll a lot of times, because of how it ended with the Isaiah Likely play, people won't even talk about the miss prior to that. We shouldn't even have the Isaiah Likely play. Zay Flowers was wide open in the back of the end zone the play before. That shouldn't have even happened, right? But if not for Lamar, you're not even in this game, right? The throw to Isaiah Likely on the move, or scrambling to his right, you know, the scrambles all night long. He was dynamic tonight, was Lamar Jackson, and not just with his arm, you know, with his legs as well. Defensively, I was a little worried. I wanted to see what they would look like tonight. You know, no Mike McDonald, no Jadeveon Clowney. So you knew they were going to look a little bit different. And they stood up. You know, no Patrick Queen as well at linebacker. You know what? I think Trent Simpson is going to be really good. I think Simpson's going to be really good. He looks really good. He had a nice pass breakup over the middle on that play that was killing them the entire game with the little slant that they were running over the middle of the field to Rashee Rice, and he broke it up. He looks like he's going to be a player for them. So I think they're going to be fine defensively. You know, they had to break down. You hate to see it, right? You don't want to give up a cheapie like that, especially with the way you were playing defense in the red zone. Make them earn it. Don't give up a cheapie like that, you know, with the coverage bust where you think you got a safety. And I don't know who was at fault there. It had to be Humphrey, if I had to guess, because he passed him off to no one, right? Everybody else was playing, you know, cover 3, and he was playing cover 2. And unfortunately, you hate to see that, because who knows? They probably wouldn't have scored a touchdown. With the way the Ravens were playing defense in the red zone, they probably were going to have to settle for 3. And speaking of which, you just don't expect Justin Tucker to miss that field goal. We've watched him make 60-yard field goals and 50-yard. I know last year was a bit of an aberration for him in terms of the amount of misses he had from 50 plus, but I don't care. It's Justin Tucker. I just expect it to go through the uprights. And in a game that ultimately came down to one score, right? Again, if you score that touchdown and then you go for 2 and you don't get it and you lose by 2, we're talking about the Justin Tucker miss, right? So again, it just seems like when the Ravens play the Chiefs, they can't get out of their own way. The AFC Championship game last year, Zay Flowers with the penalties, Zay Flowers with the fumble, going in for the score. You know, Lamar with the interception thrown late in that game into like quadruple coverage, you know, trying to force it to Isaiah Likely, who had a monster game. Like, they just can't get out of their own way when they play the Chiefs for whatever reason. I can't put my finger on it, especially when they're in Arrowhead. They just can't get out of their own way. And they just made too many mistakes when it's all said and done. They played a game worthy enough of having a chance to win, which they had a shot. But they made too many mistakes. And when you're playing a championship caliber team like the Chiefs on the road, you have to play mistake-free football. The fumble early in the game, and they got that back with the forced interception of Mahomes, as he's trying to throw the ball. They hit him, and it's picked off by Wk1 Smith. So they got the turnover back. But the blown coverage, the missed field goal, the missed opportunity to Zay Flowers in the back of the end zone, like those can't happen if you're trying to defeat the two-time defending world champions in their building. You just can't make those types of mistakes and expect to come out victorious. They still almost won, which shows you what kind of a ball club the Ravens are, but you can't make those mistakes and expect to win, right? So hell of a ball game between these two teams. This might not be the last time we see these two teams square off this season because both of these are playoff teams. If they're healthy, these are two playoff teams. I think we all can acknowledge that. So, man, what a game. And I got so, charged up by the game, I forgot to mention that this stream is powered by BetUS. And what a kickoff to the start of the NFL season. Wow. So with that said, speaking of BetUS, let's go ahead, get inside the odds with BetUS, and then we'll take a look at some numbers from this game, and then we'll get into the comment section because I'm pretty sure you guys have a lot to say about what we just watched in this game. So let's go inside the odds, brought to you by BetUS.
Inside the odds.
Looking for a new book this football season? BetUS is the answer. Fastest payouts in the industry. You get 10% back on your net losses twice a year. Not many are doing that in the industry. And then this is the big one here. This is the kicker. BetUS has upped the ante for my viewers. 150% sign-up bonus for up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits by using the promo code YouTube150. Head over to betus.com. Use the promo code YouTube150 for 150% sign-up bonus for up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. So this was the line tonight, right? -3 for the Chiefs. Even money. Vegas already knew what it was. I thought it was going to be a 4-point win for the Chiefs. I said 27-23. So I was on the over total here. Total was 46 for the game. They just crept over the total at 47, 27-20. I didn't think that it'd be. I would have definitely gone against the spread here because I thought that the Chiefs were going to win by more than 3 points. But at the end of the day, look, if you're a Ravens fan, you feel really good about what you just watched. And speaking of the Ravens, I want to ask you guys a question. And these everything that you see here is brought to you by BetUS. I want to ask you something about the Ravens. So this is the division for the Ravens right here. And we talked about this in the preseason a little bit when we were talking about, I think it was Cincinnati. But the Ravens are favored to win this division. As you can see what the money line is. They're +140. Vegas is telling you this is going to be a tight division. I picked Cincinnati to win this division. I think that the Ravens, and again, it's all going to be determined by Cincinnati's health, Burrow in particular. But the Ravens are the defending AFC North champions. They were the #1 seed. A lot of people forget they were the #1 seed in the AFC last year. Lamar Jackson won the league MVP last season. So this is a very good Ravens football team, but they lost some things. New defensive coordinator, no Jadeveon Clowney, no Patrick Queen, no more Odell Beckham Jr. Not that he was a massive, part of their offense, but he was another weapon at the receiver position. You add Derrick Henry. I didn't think they utilized him all that much tonight. I'll be interested to see if moving forward, he's a bigger part of the game plan. Obviously, I don't know if you need to ease Derrick Henry in. Like King Henry is King Henry. 13 carries isn't enough for me, just to be honest with you. And it's not like the Chiefs have this dominant defensive line that you can't run the football on. I thought they could have been more aggressive in attacking them with the run game. And, there's something to be said about Lamar having to get under center because Derrick Henry is a tailback that likes to line up in a traditional set, dotting, well, not even dotting the I. He just likes to line up behind center, not, in the gun. He's not a gun runner. So that's going to be an adjustment for Lamar, being under center a little bit more. They're going to have to use that play action. I thought they used it pretty effectively tonight, and that's going to be a big weapon for them. But what says you? These numbers were brought to you by BetUS before the season kicked off. This is the number right here, plus 140 for Baltimore. Do you think, which essentially they're telling you that they've got Baltimore favored to win this division, not by much, but they've got them favored to win this division. You've laid eyes on Baltimore. Again, small sample size, one game, but you've laid eyes on them. Offensive line going to have to get better, obviously. Going to have to be more consistent, running the football. The receivers are going to need to step up. And I still have questions about their defense, although I think they're going to be fine when it's all said and done. There were opportunities, right? There were opportunities. If Juju Smith-Schuster catches that football, they're going to score another touchdown, right? Speaking of scoring touchdowns, I didn't like them not blowing the whistle on that Isaiah Pacheco touchdown to make it 20. I think that made it 20 I think it was 13-10 at the time, so it made it 20-10. How long are you going to let them push the pile there? Like, I mean, really, what are we doing, right? Thought that was a little bit too excessive there in terms of how long he had. They needed to blow the whistle at some point. Golly. But what says you? Ravens win this division. All right, you haven't seen Cincinnati, obviously. You haven't seen Cleveland or Pittsburgh or any of the other teams, but you've seen Baltimore. Do you think that's an AFC North champion caliber team? Yes or no? All right, so let's get to your comments and talk about what you guys saw in this game, because what a barn burner we got to start the NFL season. All right, so let's get all the way up and let's go here to my guy Ree. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Rarely Even writes, it wouldn't have had to come down to the last play if Lamar could hit an open target in the end zone twice. I said the exact same thing, Ree, which is, a lot of people are going to talk about his toe and oh my God, but don't let that mask the fact that on the play before, Lamar had a wide open target in the back of the end zone and he missed him. Okay? Don't let that cloud your judgment. You could even go to the play before that, to Isaiah Likely, who was open then, and he took too long to pull the trigger. What are you waiting on? Cut it loose. Anticipate, right? So when the game was in the balance, you could argue Lamar made two of his worst throws of the game. You could argue. And I can't recall what was in front of Lamar, but that throw to Isaiah Likely, it took him up into the air. If he throws a rocket straight to him and he catches it right here, he doesn't have to jump. He doesn't have to leave his feet. I don't know if there's traffic in front of him that forced him to have to elevate that football, but I know Isaiah Likely, who's a big target, had to leave his feet and go get it. And that is what allowed him to be in a position to come down with that toe out of bounds. So again, for as good as Lamar was tonight, these are the plays that we're going to look at. And if you want to win the big game, if you want, because again, we had this conversation about Lamar last year, because up until last year, Lamar hadn't been to the AFC Championship, and Lamar still has a pretty poor playoff record. And it's because of misses like that. Like, you have to have that. You want to beat the Chiefs? I need it, right? So absolutely, it would not have come down to that. You're absolutely spot on. Rush is Variety. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, what up, Lou? What a game. Started winners and losers 0-1, but damn, that was good. I was over here sweating bullets because, I had the Chiefs, and I'm like, come on, man. I do not want to start this thing off 0-1. I got to get off to a fast start. And I got off to an 0-1 start last year because I picked the Chiefs. And I said, you're not going to do this to me 2 years in a row. And they said, no, we're not. But boy, they made me sweat over here. He says, I just want Jaden to have a better arm with the scramble skills. This could get real. Let me make sure you understand. Jaden Daniels is not Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is a one of one. Okay. He's literally a a joystick out there. His ability to start and stop. Jaden has some ability, but it ain't Lamar Jackson. There is only one Lamar Jackson. The only other guy that compares to Lamar Jackson in NFL history is Michael Vick. They're in another scrambler that moves the way Lamar Jackson moves on a string, and can contort his body, can stop and start on the dime. There was only one other guy, and that was Michael Vick. Nobody else looks like those two. And Jaden Daniels won't look like those guys either. But we'll see. Because remember, one of the knocks that I had on Jaden Daniels coming out of college was he doesn't throw on the move a ton, right? Like that wasn't something that he did in college a lot. So I'll have to see it to believe it at the NFL level, right? I know he's capable. I just didn't see enough of it to know that is something that is a strength of his game. But if he's even remotely close to Lamar Jackson, I mean, we're talking about a two-time league MVP here, right? If he's even remotely close to Lamar, because I think he's a more accurate passer than Lamar, but he's not the dynamic athlete and runner that Lamar Jackson is. And so if he's a sliver of Lamar, we got something, right? We got something. King of the Bluegrass, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. King of the Bluegrass writes, this game was a microcosm of the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Good one. Good one. It was definitely one of those, all of those old adages that you hear all the time, all of those things that, you get tired of hearing. It's a game of inches and this, that, literally it inches, right? Wow. I was sitting there thinking the Ravens might steal this thing, right? I'm seeing Harbaugh on the sideline telling them we're going for two. We're going for two. And I'm like, could they steal this thing 28-27 in epic come from behind fashion? And I heard the crowd. That's how I knew that he was out of bounds first. I heard the crowd roar, right? And I'm like, they're not roaring because they're going for two and they got a chance to win. They're roaring because they saw the replay and he's out of bounds. And it took them a while to show us the replay, but when they showed it, I was like, nope, that foot's out. Because I'm over here begging for the dub. So I'm like, no, that foot's out. But what an amazing finish. What an amazing finish. Agony of defeat. Good pun. Good pun. Rarely even. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Harrison Butker is an asshole. That is all. Yeah, he said some pretty interesting things at that ceremony speech that he gave at a college. But the Chiefs gave it. Look, the Chiefs aren't paying him to, give, speeches, right? Motivational speeches. They're not paying him to give motivational speeches and to be a motivational speaker. They're paying him, or for his religious views, they're paying him to kick the football through the uprights, and he's one of the best, if not the best, in the NFL. So as long as he does that, and nobody sticks a mic in his face, because he's one of those guys that, has strong convictions, and he's not going to shy away from telling you how he feels. As long as nobody puts a mic in his face and asks him a question that's going to lead to some bullshit, and he just continues to kick the football the way that he does, there won't be any issues. But it is what it is. He's still one of the best at his job. That is for sure. Rarely even. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, rarely even. Writes, if Isaiah Likely had smaller feet, if is the biggest two-letter word in the dictionary, in the English language, as my dad used to tell me, what if my head was turned backwards and I can see forwards? At the end of the day, Isaiah Likely shouldn't have been put in that position, And again, I'd have to go back and watch, because I don't know if he should have had to even leave his feet. Again, was there a defender in his face in Lamar's line of sight, or was there a defender that forced him to put an upward trajectory on that football, or did he just throw it high? Because he had time. There was really no pass rush. He was able to go back there, kind of survey. Chris Jones was kind of trying to keep him contained in the pocket, not let him, break the cup of the pocket. but he had time to throw the football, and he found Likely, but it was high. He had to jump, and when he came down, he wasn't able to keep his feet in bounds. Yikes. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mike, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Swaggy P writes, truly a game of inches, as we talked about already. I still think this is a preview of the AFC Championship game. Feels good to have football back. Feels good, feels good. I think we're going to see these two teams again. I don't think it's the AFC Championship, though. I think these two teams see each other in the divisional round. So I think that's where they ultimately square off, because I think Cincinnati's going to win that division. So we'll see. But I think this is a preview of the divisional round, not the AFC Championship. But who knows? Because I can't see Kansas City winning a third Super Bowl in a row. But till somebody knocks them off. And I'm going to be honest with you. Outside of losing L'Jarius Sneed, which is a big loss. And, you know, I know it wasn't felt as much this week, but there were opportunities. You know, they praised the corner. I literally said his name earlier and I forgot. Jalen. Wow. I can't think of his last name. And I want to say it starts with a W, but I want to say it's Watkins, but I don't think that's his last name. But the corner, 35. He got beat on that play where Lamar underthrew him. Zay Flowers got behind him, and he was able to recover. And I got to give him credit for turning and locating the football, because a lot of guys in that situation, when they're in that trail technique and they're beat, you're told not to turn and locate the ball. Just play through the hands of the receiver at that point. He turned and located the football and was able to knock it away and saved himself from picking up a PI. But if that ball's put out in front and allowing Zay Flowers to, that's a touchdown. Like, Lamar was not accurate down the field at all in this game. There were opportunities. There was another play where they caught the Chiefs in one of the rare instances where they decided to blitz. Lamar had Zay Flowers running across the field, one-on-one down the field, and he threw that thing 6 yards over his head. He didn't even give him a shot. So there were opportunities in this game, but outside of them no longer having L'Jarius Sneed, I think they're a better football team. It's a better roster. It's a better roster for the Chiefs. So it's going to be interesting to see how this season plays out. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Ree writes, I'm so happy football is back. I second that motion. Like, golly, watching this game, and you know, it seems like this happens every year, because last year's opener was just as good. It didn't end like this. I think the Lions ended up getting a first down at the end of the game to run out the clock, but it was a close game. And 2 years ago, I want to say, or maybe it was 3 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. The Chiefs played somebody. I don't know. It wasn't 2 years ago. That was the first Super Bowl for Mahomes when they played the Texans that Thursday. That was a trash game. Usually these opening games are really entertaining. And this one definitely didn't disappoint. And I caught myself saying, God, I missed this. Like at least 3 different times watching this game. God, I missed this. Arrowhead looks great. We had the delay, pushed the game back a little bit. Who cares? God, this was great. Man, I love football. I said that at least 3 times watching this game. Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Ree. Watson, thank you. Jalen Watson, that's the name of the corner. He got beat. He got beat for the deep ball, and you know, Lamar just couldn't put it there where it needed to be. But it'll be interesting to see if he can hold up out there, because I'm not sure. Like, I think he's a good corner, but I'm not sure if he's gonna be able to hold up on that island. Rewrites, the Bucks and Commanders have a date on Sunday. Lou, honestly, if we take y'all lightly and try to look past you, we're gonna lose. Objectively, we're the better team, but week 1 is bizarre. I don't know if you're the better team or not. I don't know if I look at your team, because I don't think your defense is all that good. I really don't think your defense is great, especially your secondary. I love your safeties. I think your corners can be beat. And you don't have any pass rush. Yaya Diaby coming back does help a lot, but you don't have any real pass rush that scares me. So I'm not really, I'm not blown away by your roster, but your receivers against my corners scare the hell out of me. And if we can't get to Baker and make him uncomfortable, he should be able to have some success against our secondary. So, but you don't run the football well. You've never run the football well. So I'm not really worried about you guys in that regard. Like, oh, you're just better than us, and if we don't play our best football, we can't win. I think that's a game we can definitely go in there and win, but we can't make mistakes. You know, we're not good enough to go in there and turn it over and have penalties and self-destruct and still expect to win. Like, we're gonna have to go in there and play clean football. And if we don't do that, then you're probably going to beat us, right? So I think it's going to be a good game, though. And let me say this. I'm glad you just jogged my memory. I don't know why this made me think of this, but the kickoffs, the dynamic kickoff. You saw a lot of kickoffs out of the end zone, touchbacks being taken. I think you're going to see a lot of this early in the season, because what I heard, and I heard this during the preseason, and I didn't know what to make of it, but now I'm seeing it in action, and I think that this is going to be something that continues throughout, is special teams coordinators aren't really sure how teams are going to try to play this thing. So they kind of want to see what teams are doing around the league before they try to get creative and start kicking it and making you return kicks. They don't mind you getting the ball at the 30, right? They don't mind you starting off at the 30-yard line if it means not risking giving up a big return. Look, the 2 returns that the Chiefs got were out past the 30, okay? They only returned it twice, and both of them went out past the 30-yard line. So I think with the way this thing is set up, unless you have a dynamic, kickoff coverage unit, teams are going to be able to get to the 27, the 29, the 26. And if that's the case, what's the extra 3 or 4 yards without having to worry about them potentially breaking it, right? There's a lot of chatter about coordinators not wanting to just kick it because there could be some tricks up the sleeve of some of these teams, and they just want to make sure that they kind of get a feel for this kickoff first before they start kicking it in the field of play and trying things. I saw 2 teams that weren't interested in kicking it in the landing zone. And just touch back, don't worry about it. I wonder if that's going to continue throughout the course of week 1 and into week 2. That's something to keep an eye on. To see if teams just say, don't worry about it, you can have it at the 30. I'd rather you have it at the 30 than run the risk of you breaking off a 55-yard return, or even worse, a touchdown. So just something to think about. Let's get to the comment section real quick and see what you guys are talking about. Juan Gotti Talking Sports writes, oh, and let me go ahead and say this. If you're out there, you want your comment read, we got a little bit of time. Use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air. If time permits, we'll get to your comment and react to it. But obviously, if you don't super chats, if you want to ensure that your comment is read, super chats are the way to do that. Use the super chat function, jump straight to the front line, and ensure that your comment is read. Can't ensure you that we'll get to your comment if your comment is towards the back end of the comment, the live chat. So if you want to ensure that your comment is read, super chats are the way to do that. Juan Gotti Talking Sports writes, hold on, Lou. I think the Ravens just had another illegal formation. Let me check right quick. This was earlier. This was at 9:33. So they probably had another 4 or 5 by the time after you type that in. John Wynn says, so if you get 3 illegal formation penalties as a warning, do you get ejected or something? No. But you know what's crazy about that is they actually warn you first. So you don't get a penalty for an illegal formation for lineup. They tell you the first time, hey, you need to move up. You're a little too far back into the backfield. That's the warning. and then they flag you. And then he proceeded to get flagged like 4 more times after that. So he actually did it like 5 times in the game. It's crazy. We got a couple of supers. Let's get to those. King of the Bluegrass, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Trent McDuffie greater than Jahan Dotson. I'm still pissed about that draft. Hopefully Mikey Sainristil can be a mini McDuffie. I think Mike's going to be just fine. I love me some Mikey Sainristil. You know that. I think he's going to be a dog in the slot. And he'll make up for, passing on Trent McDuffie. But you got to remember where we were back in 2022 when they drafted Jahan Dotson. We had nothing at receiver outside of Terry McLaurin. And so that whole offseason, all we talked about was getting a receiver. That's all we talked about. So it's easy in hindsight because they traded Dotson and he didn't work out in Washington. It's easy in hindsight to say that they should have gone in a different direction. And look, you were saying that before. So let me make that abundantly clear. You always were one of those people that wanted McDuffie, and there are a lot of people that wanted Kyle Hamilton. So we got to see both of those guys in this game. Hamilton did not have one of his better games tonight, but it's easy in hindsight to talk about what they could have done with that pick instead of drafting Jahan Dotson. But you got to take yourself back to 2022 and where we were mentally at that point. We came off of 2 straight seasons of no help for Terry. 2020, we got guys like Isaiah Wright and Dontrell Inman and, Steven Sims Jr. out there next to Terry McLaurin. Are you kidding me? So they signed Curtis Samuel in free agency, and he's hurt the whole 2021 season. So that's 2 years in a row of Terry having no help and having to try and do it by himself. So you had to know. They drafted De'Ami Brown in 21, and he just wasn't ready to contribute, right, in 21. So De'Ami wasn't a big factor as a rookie, 3rd-round pick, and you got nothing out of Curtis Samuel. You got to understand where we were. So I get it. I understand where you're coming from, but you also got to go back and give it proper context. We were dying for receiver help in 2022, right? Ree, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Rarely even writes, Dan Quinn looks like a guy who you see in the morning fixing up his riding lawnmower. Hey, I don't think I've ever seen a shinier ball head in my life than Dan Quinn's. I was watching his press conference yesterday. I was like, shit, his shit is shiny as hell. Like, shiny, right? Antisocial Sully. Been a member for 10 months. Really appreciate you. Who writes, Master Sheet link isn't working on Twitter, by the way. I fixed it. I haven't reposted it yet because when I set it up, I wanted to have everything already in it working and the way that it needs to be. But I fixed it. I know what the problem was. That was an error on my part. So I've fixed it. And when I repost it, I will have it where everything's set up. All the picks, all the master sheets are done. I'm still working on that. Last 2 days have been a whirlwind with activity, and I knew this was going to happen. It happens every year, but this year was the worst in terms of people waiting to the last minute. Shout out to all the people who, turned in their sheets, filled out their registration and paid their money early and didn't wait till the last minute and didn't have to worry about this hustle and bustle. But, humans are going to be humans. People are going to be people. And that's what people do. They wait till the last minute to do shit. So I'm still trying to get everything squared away now. But Marks, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Marks writes, will you be going over week 1 matchups before kickoff, Lou? Hashtag HTTC. Tomorrow on the Louie T Network podcast. I give my money picks of the week on Fridays every week. And so, I'll be giving out my picks tomorrow. Gonna give out my picks tomorrow. Or today, if you're on the East Coast, like myself. So, I'll be giving out my picks and, kind of breaking down each game and telling you what I think it will be the outcome and how it will be reached in every single game. All right. Let's see. John Wynn says, did you get a chance to watch Mike McDonald's press conference yet? He'll be on press conference before week 1's. No, I haven't watched his presser yet. Unless something happens major at a presser, I generally don't watch a lot of other teams' head coaches' press conferences. Kevin the PRF writes, has Lamar always been inaccurate like this? I mean, he wasn't terrible tonight. Let's not act like, I've watched games. I can't remember exactly who the opponent was, but I remember very vividly, I want to say it was the Indianapolis Colts. That's exactly who it was. This had to be like 3 years ago. I watched Lamar put on a clinic. I mean, the man went like, I think he went 42 of like 45 in that game. And he only had like 3 or 4 incompletions and he threw like 40-something passes. Okay, he might have been like 37 or 41 or something like that. He put a clinic on that night. So, yeah, they talked about the offensive line and, that being a big factor in them getting it out of Lamar's hands quickly. I mean, they said his average depth of pass, we were into the third quarter when Collinsworth gave us this stat, was 1 yard. The ball wasn't traveling more than a yard down the field. So they were trying to get it out of his hands. They weren't sure about this offensive line. But, yeah, he missed some passes tonight. But he wasn't terrible, But the misses were big. They were big. They were big. No doubt about that. They were big. Timothy Santiago, been a member for 12 months. Hit that 1-year ante. All right, Timmy. Timothy Santiago writes, what up, Lou? What's up, Timothy? Says, hope you and the fam are doing well. What an exciting night, and we are back. HTTC. Yes, indeed. That is the best part, is we are back. I mean, man, that feels good to say. I told him, I called Boss up, my dad, and got his picks for the week. And before we got off the phone, I said, man, it feels good to be back. We are back, man. And he said, yeah, it feels good. Feels good. It feels good. C Trail, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. C Trail writes, Lou Trail, he says, Ravens need a reliable wide receiver 2 bad. Maybe 2025 draft. I told you I wasn't really sure about their receiving core. And look, Bateman may still be a really good option as a number 2. He started off like gangbusters, and then he got hurt, and he really hasn't been the same since. And I don't know if he's ever going to be what they drafted him to be. Remember, Rashad Bateman is a former first-round pick. The Ravens just haven't had a ton of success drafting receivers. They hit a home run, clearly, with Zay Flowers, but it feels like there's been more misses at the receiver position than hits. First, second, third round, it really doesn't matter. Miles Boykin, I remember him being a third-round pick because he was a Notre Dame fighting out. He's a Golden Domer. That didn't work out for them. Obviously, you got Bateman, you got Flowers. Duvernay, I want to say he was a third-round pick out of Texas. I think he's no longer on their roster. Tylan Wallace, I don't think he was a high draft pick, though. I think Wallace was like a 4th-round pick or something like that. Duvernay might have been a 4th-rounder as well. But, they all seem to be like the same body type, same type of guy, but they just don't flourish. And, that some of that is also the scheme and the things that they do with their receivers in Baltimore. But they're going to need somebody else to step up outside of Zay Flowers at the receiver position. Like, Nelson Aguilar ain't it. I can tell you that much. But, we'll see what happens. King of the Bluegrass, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. King of the Bluegrass writes, I've watched Lamar since he was a freshman at Louisville. He always comes up small in the big moments. I can't say that that's the case. Not always. I've seen Lamar come up clutch in some moments. I can think of a game against Seattle where he told John Harbaugh asked him if he wanted to go for it. He said, hell yeah, I want to go for it. And he went for it on 4th down, and he went and got the touchdown. either a touchdown or a first down on fourth down to ice the game. I've seen him, make some big plays. Look, when he won the Heisman at Louisville, I remember, if I'm not mistaken, they had a game early that season on the road at Death Valley against Clemson, and they went in there and they beat Clemson, if I'm not mistaken. That was with Deshaun Watson at Clemson, and they went in there and they won, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if I buy that narrative, but it just seems like when they play the Chiefs of all teams, they come up small, right? But these are the types of moments that shape and mold your legacy in this league. These types of games, you want to find a way. And Mahomes seems to always find a way to win these types of games, right? And Jackson seems to find a way when there's a lot of his big contests, they come against these Chiefs here, right? Get to the playoffs, and you're going to run into the Bills, or you're going to run into the Chiefs, or you're going to run into the Bengals. And there was a stretch there where Lamar wasn't healthy when they would make it to the playoffs. They lost to Cincinnati with Tyler Huntley at quarterback, and if Lamar would have played in that game, they probably would have won, right? They went to Buffalo one year. Lamar got injured late in that game, but they weren't going to win that game anyway. But he didn't play well. They lost to Tennessee when they were the #1 seed. Lamar won the MVP that year, and Derrick Henry ran over them, and Lamar didn't play well, right? There's a lot of instances of that, but it's not just him either, right? We do that a lot where we put it all on the quarterback. It's not just him, but he had an opportunity tonight. Defense got the stop that they needed. Defense bailed him out time and time again and gave him an opportunity late, and he had a shot, and he didn't take advantage of it. Man, we can't put that anywhere but on Lamar. Can't put that anywhere on but on Lamar. Let's see. Where did we leave off? Right here. RG3 hashtag writes, Ravens have 2 legit tight ends. They stay with a extra tight end in the tuck, always. It feels like they've always had 2 tight ends that could kill you, but they really got 2 tight ends that are nasty right now. Isaiah Likely he's been that way, and they didn't even really get it to Mark Andrews tonight. They didn't even really feature him tonight. I want to know what the hell he was doing on that third down when he caught that pass and fell down. Like, he literally went to the ground and caught that pass and didn't even have to do that. I don't know if he thought he was past the sticks. My guess is he thought he was past the first down, and he just wanted to make sure he caught it. But he wasn't even close. He's like 2 yards short of the first down. That's when they went for it on fourth down, and Derrick Henry ended up getting that run for the first down. When I said Harbaugh should have just kicked the field goal, because they ultimately went and kicked the field goal. But I know what the rationale was. Like, we're already down here. We're down 2 scores. It's going to take us a long time to get back down here again. We're already down here. Let's just try to get the touchdown. So they got the first down, and then, the next set of downs, they were a little bit too far to go for it on fourth down, so they took the points. Let's see. Samuel S. writes, if the Chiefs three-peat, let's all blame the Bills. You know what? They'll definitely be among the prime suspects for helping the Chiefs out, because they had no business. And I get it. I've said this many a times. The draft makes bedfellows out of sworn enemies. I mean, the Commanders did a deal with the Eagles during the draft. Like, you don't care who the team on the other end of the phone is if they're talking with sense and it makes good sense for you as an organization. If you can better your football team by making a trade during the draft, you don't give a shit who's on the other end. As long as the compensation is good in your mind's eye, you're going to make the move. And the Bills didn't like the value where they were sitting. They saw the ability to move back and still get the guy that they wanted, which was Keon Coleman, and they did so while picking up more draft capital, because they knew they were going to need it, because they were, kind of shedding a lot of dead weight. They were getting old, and they were going to move on from those safeties. And, they had traded on Stephon Diggs, and they needed more draft capital to kind of replenish the roster. But to allow the Chiefs to come up and get Xavier Worthy felt like a mistake. It felt like a mistake. One that may ultimately cost them and everybody else in the AFC. So we'll see what happens. Let's see. NES Tecmo writes, I'm a part of AP's posse. Need him to write the team. Tired of Thursday night football commercials featuring both team highlights against us. Look, at the end of the day, you're going to have to change the narrative. And that's not going to happen overnight. So it is what it is, I don't really have anything else to add. It's going to take time, but we'll see what happens. Ronte Robinson writes, my name's still not on the master sheet for the picks of the week. I haven't put it out yet, so you won't see it. I haven't put it out yet. That's why I didn't put the link on my X yet, because for that reason right there, if I put it up and it's not complete, people are going to be going crazy, be frantic. Oh, I don't see my name. This, that. That's why I haven't put it out yet, because it's not done. It'll be done first thing in the morning, though, because I'm going to stay up all night and get it done, because I don't want this thing lingering into tomorrow. So after this stream is done, which will be here in the next 5 to 7 minutes, I'm going to get cracking on that and get that stuff set up. So it'll be done, because I don't want it to linger into tomorrow. So Rich writes, what a start to the season. Amen to that. Amen to that. Larry G's the best writes, I feel like people ain't being fair to Lamar. Yeah, he missed 2 touchdown passes. You can't start your argument for Lamar by, yeah, he missed 2 touchdown passes in a game that you lose by 1 score. You can't do that, Larry. If you're going to make a case for Lamar, you got to start by saying they're not even in this game without Lamar, which is true, right? But you can't start by saying, yeah, he missed 2 touchdowns. You lost the game by 7 points. You lost the game by a touchdown. You can't start your argument for Lamar by saying, yeah, he missed 2 touchdown passes. You lost the game by a touchdown. Yes, you can't blame him for that. He says, in the end zone, but all night his receivers and offensive line was getting murdered. And you're not wrong. But you can't start your argument for Lamar by saying, yeah, he missed 2 touchdown passes. You're making people's points. That's why they're being hard on Lamar. Because look, this man is a 2-time league MVP. All right. Ain't nobody going to treat Lamar like he's a second-year quarterback. The kid gloves are off with Lamar now. You get to a certain point in your career where, and Lamar's at that point now. Same thing with like a guy like Dak Prescott. Nobody gives a shit about what you do in the regular season. The regular season accolades are good. That's cool. That's fine and dandy. But what ultimately matters is in games like this, and when you get to the postseason, and you're going to see a team like this, you got to make the plays that win your team the game. Dak Prescott hasn't been able to do it in the playoffs. He chokes in the playoffs like he did against Green Bay, like he did against San Francisco, And Lamar, there's a narrative that has been formed that Lamar does not play well in big games. This was a big game. You heard Chris Collinsworth say that Lamar wasn't treating this like a regular season game. He was treating it like a postseason game because he knows who this opponent is. And these mean a lot more. You don't think next week when the Bengals and the Chiefs play, that's not going to be a big game for those two teams? It's going to be a massive game, especially for Mahomes, because Burrow is the only quarterback in the league that has his number. He's the only quarterback in the league that has beaten Mahomes more times than Mahomes has beaten him. Maybe Josh Allen. Those two are pretty close, Mahomes and Allen. But every time, and this is the reason why Mahomes isn't really afraid of Allen, because anytime the marbles are all on the table, right? And they're all on the line. The game's on the line. In the postseason, Mahomes always gets Allen. Always. He's never lost to him in the playoffs. Joe Burrow beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs to get to the Super Bowl. So he knows Burrow's about that life. And he's beaten him almost every time in the postseason. And if not for a Joseph Osai late hit out of bounds, Burrow might have beaten him again. Now, Burrow made mistakes in that game that gave the Chiefs an opportunity. He wasn't perfect, but at the end of the day, that's going to be a big game next week. Big game next week. King of the Bluegrass. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. King of the Bluegrass writes, well, let's just say his accuracy gets shaky in those moments. I don't think anybody's going to ever confuse Lamar Jackson with Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or Peyton Manning from an accuracy standpoint. He can be accurate at times, but we know he can be somewhat, skittish with the accuracy from time to time. That's a big miss to Zay Flowers. Like the deep balls and stuff like that, whatever. Like he makes up for that kind of stuff with his legs and the dynamic playmaking ability. Man ran for over 100 yards on 16 carries tonight. Like, I'll let some of that stuff go. The miss to Zay Flowers is inexcusable. Inexcusable. I don't want none of those. My bad. I saw him go like this. Like, no, not this. Don't do this. Right? Don't do that. Because he was wide ass open. Don't do that. Like, oh man, I almost connected on a deep ball 50 yards down the field. I just missed him. That's when you do this shit. His ass was wide ass open. It ain't no, oh man, you missed, bro. Yeah, that was frustrating to watch. Anyway, I digress. I want to give a massive shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this live stream, man. Once again, if you're looking for a new book this football season, BetUS is the answer. Fastest payouts in the industry. You get 10% back on your net losses twice a year. Again, who else is doing that? Who else is doing that? And then here's the kicker. BetUS has upped the ante for my viewers. It was 125%. Now it's 150% sign-up bonus for up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits when you use the promo code YouTube150. Head over to betus.com and use the promo code YouTube150 to get you 150% sign-up bonus on up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here after a whale of a ball game to kick off the 2024 season. My goodness. Does it get much better than that? I think we're in for a great slate of games. I was looking at the slate of games earlier today when I was making my picks. I said, damn, there's some good games in here, right? And not necessarily like, oh, I'm dying to see this game. It's just, man, it could go either way. Jacksonville, Miami, the Giants and the Vikings, the Cowboys and the Browns, the Commanders and the Bucks. I mean, I think the primetime games are going to be outstanding. What about tomorrow's game? That's going to be a barn burner. That's going to be a doozy. We could get another one of these down to the wire, last snap of the game. Like that could literally be tomorrow. Packers and Eagles, right? That's essentially a primetime game. We'll be back doing this again tomorrow, right? Be live after that game. How about the Sunday night game? Rematch of the divisional round or wild card weekend game? Lions and Rams? That should be a good one. How about the Monday night game? Jets, all the fanfare surrounding them, Aaron Rodgers. Let's do this again. Let's try it again, right? We did the Monday night thing with Aaron Rodgers last time, and it lasted all of 4 plays. Let's try it again against the NFC reigning champion San Francisco, 49ers. Let's try it again. I think we're in for a hell of a weekend of football. Bart Scott. Can't wait. Anyway, I digress. Brian T. Beal, Burrow is not 3-0 versus Mahomes. He's 3-1. He lost in the playoff game 2 seasons ago. when the Bengals made it to the AFC Championship game and lost to the Chiefs. So, yeah. Burrow's got his number, though. And it's the only quarterback in the league that can say that. So that's a big one next week. And that could determine, we get to the end of the season, that could determine who's the number 1 seed in the AFC. So in back-to-back weeks, the Chiefs are going to go at the belly of the beast, of the AFC North. Those are the 2 best teams in that division. And they're getting them weeks 1 and 2 back-to-back. Right out of the gate, the NFL is saying, you want to win 3 in a row? Prove it. Well, 1 down, 1 to go. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this stream. Man, Thursday Night Football overtime. Kicked off the season with a bang. Chiefs get it done 27-20 over the Baltimore Ravens in a nail-biter. Isaiah Likely's toe barely out of bounds to preserve the victory for the Chiefs. Lamar Jackson had an opportunity on the snap before to a wide open Zay Flowers and just flat out missed him. But that's the name of the game. Got to make the plays when they're there to be made, and it did not happen for the Ravens. Honestly, and I said this earlier, just one too many mistakes by the Ravens. You can't fumble. You can't blow a coverage and allow a guy to score a touchdown. You can't miss an open receiver in the back of the end zone. You can't do those things when you're playing the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions in their building on banner night. It's just not going to get it done. But I digress. Hell of a game. Wow, if that is any indication of what we're in store for this season or even this week, Bart Scott, can't wait. Thank you guys for joining me. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. Until then, you know what it is. God bless and good night.
LouieTeeNetwork.